session, what I'd like you to do, if you have pen and paper, is write down the word standards. Standards. What is your definition of that word? So what's your personal definition of the word standards? I want you to take a second to write that down. And it might just be bullet points, words that come to mind, whatever it might be. So when I say that word standards, how would you define it? Okay. So I'll give you a second there. So what did we write down? How do we define the word standards?
My standards are the goalposts for how I define success. Like, I roll this way. It's kind of my boundaries. This
is exactly. So yeah, my goalposts for how I roll. This is what I allow or not allow. This is how I allow myself to be treated. This is how I allow people to talk to me. Maybe that lives in there. This is how I wake up every morning. This is how I act towards other people, you know. So let's talk about standards for a second, and let's think about in framing this as far as a real estate professional goes. We're gonna come to that. So let's talk about your morning standards, right? How many of you have kids? I have a new baby fish, so I can raise my hand now, right? So we all have kids, right? Which is awesome. Mine just happens to be very quiet and easier to take care of. But right, so one of my standards that I have to do and wake up every morning is I wake up, I turn the light on for my fish, and I give him 5 little pellets of food, right? That's my standard for how me and Saki, that's the name of my fighting fish, wake up and enjoy our morning together. And he gets really excited. He swims up right up to the thing. He's so freaking happy. It's not because of me. It's because he's hungry, obviously, but it's our standard. And I know when I hit that light to turn on his light, because he has a very cool aquarium with all these different lights, that's when I give him the food. That's a simple morning standard, right? What is one of your morning standards? How many of you wake up and have a cup of coffee? Yeah, Jill almost flew out of the chair. She's like, yes, I love me some coffee, for real, right? That's a morning standard, right? It's how you've been programmed to operate. So next question I want you to write down is, how did you learn your standards? How did you learn those standards or your standards? So were you born with them?
No, I practiced mine.
You practiced them. Yeah, you practice them.
Yeah.
Ben says practice. Okay, so I practice my standards. I love that. Did somebody teach you? So think back to your first cup of coffee. Why'd you drink the cup of coffee?
Oh, it's a habit, right? It's habitual.
Yeah, Felix. Yeah, it's habitual, right? But it's habitual because it was a learned behavior at some point. You weren't genetically born to drink coffee. You learned that standard because you watched mom or dad go, oh, can't start my day without that cup of coffee. And they hugged it and it was like steam coming off and they were so freaking happy. And you're like, when I get old enough, I want some whatever that is because they seem to really love it. So that established that standard for us. Does that make sense? Right? Same thing where some of us might have learned bad standards where it's like you watch your dad come home every night, make some martini, drink some martini. You're like, that's got to be the way you're supposed to do it. Like martini standard is also the standard. Good or bad, you learn those from the people around you. Well, the same thing is in real estate. We have real estate standards that we either make these really good habits or not so great standards or habits. So what I want to think about real quick before we jump into our session today is what are the standards that you think you need to have as a professional elite real estate agent? Give me one standard that you think you would need to have in place that's either a daily, weekly, or monthly standard for you to be an elite real estate professional. What comes to mind? Go ahead, just jump in. Yeah, Scott, no problem.
I would say set aside time for prospecting and exercising that muscle of just contacting more people.
Okay, so a standard for Scott would be I protect my prospecting time and I hit my numbers that I know I need to talk to a certain amount of people and exercising that muscle. What would be another standard as an elite real estate professional that you would have?
I think starting to track your numbers.
Tracking your numbers. Absolutely critical if you want to be an elite real estate professional, right? You got to know where you're at, how far you're behind, how far you're ahead, how far you need to go, all of those things. I love that. What else? Give me another one.
Continuing education.
Oh, it's a standard that I learn. I cannot get better if I don't get smarter. That sounded like good. If I don't get smarter, right? Like if I don't learn, I'm not going to get any better. Give me another one, and we'll move.
How about practicing your scripts and your listing presentation?
Well, just that word in itself, Kathy, practice. I'm going to practice the core things that I need to do that make me the most money possible, right? I have to practice in those standards. Anna.
Yeah, as soon as you said it, my brain immediately went to transaction management and how I process leads. Okay. Those are particular standards in my business.
Right. So you have a standard for how when you receive a internet lead, a referral, a type of person, how you process them, you have a standard operating procedure. I always think about a pilot, right? This pilot has this whole check down. They get into the cockpit and they have to flip this, check this, do that, do this. Otherwise, that plane does not move. And if they flip one little button and the light doesn't come on, they make us sit there on the tarmac forever until they figure out what the problem is, right? Because that's a standard that they have to keep us safe and keep us alive. They don't have a choice. It's a standard on how they do it. All right. So let's talk about some standards that I've watched and modeled other top agents across the country. We hit one of them, which is they track numbers. That's a big one. Here's the easiest one. They usually all start at the same place at the same time every single day. They start at the same place at the same time every single day. They also are ready and dressed for every day with the expectation of they're going to have an appointment that day. And I know some of us struggle with this, right? COVID made it very comfortable. I work from home. Well, it's fine. My closet's right there. I can get out of my PJs and jump into my work outfit if I need to. But if for those that go to the office, if you show up at the office in, jeans and a t-shirt, are you really telling yourself that day I'm going to have a listing appointment? So maybe that becomes a standard that might need to change, right? I'm not saying for everyone, but you got to start thinking about it. If you take this apart piece by piece and you look at your weekly, daily, monthly schedule, the only thing that separates a lot of this is what you allow and what you don't allow. So if you woke up every morning, put on your I'm going on a listing appointment outfit, told your brain today I'm going to go on a listing appointment, showed up at the office at the same time, or even your home office at the same time, ready to rock and roll, going, I'm going to go out and take a listing today, instead of I'm going to see if I get a listing today. And if I do, I'm going to change into my fancy pants. Right? I'm just saying, right? If I have some reason to leave the house, maybe I'll get dressed. And I'm just talking about what I've noticed the most because it is hard. we're telling our brain what we want the outcome to be, whether we know it or not. Right? So think about that. Now, every market's different. I know we have people that are in Hawaii wearing shorts. We've got people wearing parkas. We got people all over the place. And I'm not saying you have to do these things, but you have to start thinking about how I have my standard is how my standards are going to respond back to me. Okay? Whose standard is it to go to bed before 10 o'clock every night? I love it. Is that a good standard to probably have if you need to get up early and be successful, right? Just saying. But then we go, oh, I was watching the new Ozark season and it just happened to be a little bit late and I couldn't stop watching it. And then I was like, talk about a depressing show, by the way. Oh my gosh, it just makes you, it's just constantly sad for those people, but fascinating nonetheless, right? So what are those standards? All right, we really want to dial into that. Any questions on that? Any questions on standards? Any ahas or thoughts of anything you need to change this week, maybe as far as a good standard or bad standard? No one wants to admit what their good standards or bad standards are. Lindsay, I'm sure you've got some bad standards. What's one of your bad standards, Lindsay?
I knew you were going to call on me for this.
What's one of your bad standards?
I would say a bad standard that I've gotten into this past week is waking up late. So that's one that I need to get back on to, waking up early.
I love it. So how do you fix it?
Making sure I go to bed early and getting back into my morning mastery routine. So I have something to look forward to when I wake up.
That's it. Beautifully said. What she said right there, thank you, Lindsay, was critical. So I have something to look forward to when I wake up. That's everything, right? We just have to make sure we're aligning it. People ask me all the time, Brendan, how can I be more successful at real estate? I say it all starts with your schedule, your habits, and that's it. I can teach you fancy techniques and this CRM and this script and all that. Everyone that I know, it's not that they're more talented than any other person. They just have a better schedule.